Hello, 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 everyone. Hey, hey, thanks for coming in. Y'all, these headphones are so heavy. I use them for the podcast and the morning radio show, and they're so heavy and they make my ears sweat, because it's only like 4 billion degrees here in Georgia. So, hey, y'all, for coming in. Hit that thumbs up. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Well. Come on in. Let the notifications be sent out. Y'all, I'm excited tonight because I found an older video. It's not that old, maybe it's about a year. And I sat down and I chatted with my friend Alicia over at Country Mama Musing about freeze dried foods and doing meals in a jar. Um, and I even was prepared enough, y'all, to go grab like stuff that I have mealed in a jar to talk about before we get into the video. Um, and that video, let me see if I can just pull it up for a second, is that one right there on the screen. Besides me looking goofy starting it, but the the thumbnails down in, I guess, the right hand corner. But yes, see. Oh my word, for real, for real. They do it at the smart time because now is the time that we should be preparing for next garden season. I know that seems crazy to some people to be like, oh my gosh, I'm just in like the dead heat of, you know, getting my garden together. Why am I prepping for next year? And that's the reason, because they're cheaper. And you really should, unless you save your own seeds, you really should change out the seeds every 2 to 3 years. So this is my coming up year of getting fresh seeds and saving seeds. No, you're good. I needed to know that because I love, and my gardener, I get seeds from them in Baker Creek. And last year, or no, 2 years ago, I got some seeds from a big box store, and none of them germinated. Like none. Like I had to go buy plant starts at the big box store again. So it sucked. Said yes. Here's some new ones. So $1. Y'all heard it here. Go get you some of my gardener seeds. I'm going to after I get off this live and after I shoot the podcast. I'm going on there. So it'll be like a midnight shopping. But yes, so I found a older video about August and Farm, freeze dried foods, and meals in a jar. And I want to kind of talk about meals in a jar before I get into the video. Y'all know, if you followed me, I love meals in a jar. I actually did when I did Soup Timber last year, and I did creamy potato soup in a jar. And most of the time, unless you're a rebel canner, you shouldn't be canning dairy stuff. So I was like, well, but I love my potato soup and it's got a lot of dairy product in it. So how am I going to do it? So this was in the manual jar at the very bottom. I don't even know if you kind of can tell the color difference, but the one at the very bottom is my dehydrated and blended mashed potatoes. So what I do is I cook the potatoes, mash them up, and then I put them on the dehydrator tray, just like you would any of the squash or anything, and dehydrate it. Sometimes I do it for like 18, 20 hours. You want it really hard and breakable, and then I put it into my blender and blend it up, and then I actually have a jar of just dehydrated mashed potatoes, and y'all, it's just like the packet mashed potatoes. Um, that you get at the store. I mean, it's that easy. It's kind of like same kind of measurements. So I have that, and then cheese powder, and then milk powder, and some cream and seasonings. You can get the August Farm like bacon that's freeze dried, and add that in there. It's so good, and this is so easy. Basically, all you do is it is 1 of the powdered mixture to 2 of the water for the soup. and stir it, let it go. It's so good. So that's one of the ones that I always do to put on my shelf. And for y'all who follow me on Instagram, I'm doing the Every Bit Counts challenge. And because my garden kind of wrapped up pretty quickly this year, luckily we got a lot of stuff, but it just because it's been so hot and wet, the tomato plants went bye-bye real fast. I've been trying to think of different ways to preserve during the month of August. And another way that we do it, and I meant to say for all of these, if you can see, they're vacuum sealed. And there's an attachment that you can add to your vacuum sealer, and it seals the lids of your can, and that just gives it more of a shelf life. Usually it's about 10 years. But I also do mac and cheese in a jar. It's kind of the same thing. It's a cream base down at the bottom. It's cheese. It's some garlic powder and onion powder seasoning, a little bit of flour or cornstarch, and of course your pasta. And basically same thing. You dump this in your casserole dish. You do 2 boiling hot water jars in there, let it sit for a while, bake. Another great one. And we're going to talk about all of that in the video that we're watching. Alicia is kind of like so amazing at teaching me how to do the meals in a jar. Hey, yes, you caught it. Hey, come on in. We're talking about meals in a jar. And we're about to watch an older video that I shot with my friend Alicia over at Country Mama Musing on meals in a jar and dehydrated food. But yeah, I wanted to show you 2 things that are kind of newer here on the homestead that I'm doing. And this one I actually posted about. It was my day 8 for the Every Bit Counts challenge. And that is cheese dip in a jar. Now, let me tell you, I don't use my expensive 4-jar lids for this. No, you're okay. You're okay. I use generic ones. But this was so amazing, y'all. I did it tonight with our Mexican food, and I was kind of testing it out to know how to put the recipe when I do my weekly video on YouTube on the Every Bit Counts challenge. But really what I did was I did one of these jars, a cup of hot water, boiling water, and then I did a half a jar of my home canned Rotel. It's delicious. Cheese dip in a jar in the powder mix. And the recipe will be on the video that I do a weekly kind of recipe video for my Every Bit Counts challenge of what I do every day. So it will be in that video. And another newer thing, now let me tell you, I had a lot of wide mouth things, so I did use the 4-jar ones. And y'all know I love my 4 jars. Use Ormsby 10 for 10% off. They're amazing. But I dehydrated a lot of squash because we had a lot of yellow squash this year. Again, all of them are sealed. And why I dehydrated so much squash is because I'm going to be doing squash cheesy casserole in a jar. It's pretty much the exact same thing, a little bit more cream sauce as the macaroni and cheese in a jar, but you replace those with your squash. Absolutely amazing. Delicioso. So good. So yeah, y'all know I love me some meals in a jar, and I wanted to bring a couple of them and show. Does anybody in the chat, do any of y'all do meals in a jar? Let me know in the chat. Let me know if y'all are meal in a jar peeps and what your favorite recipe is. Do any of y'all have favorite recipes? I know that on this video with Alicia, I learned the funeral potatoes, which is like scallop potatoes, and I think we put the faux beef in there, and that was really good. I need to do some more of those. It's just easy. It's like a convenience easy. Y'all, look at my red ear because of these headphones. Oh my goodness. All right, let me add this video to it. And now we're going to watch it. Let's see. Yeah, I'm telling you, the mac and cheese is so easy. And once you seal it, you can like stock them up in your pantry. And it's just like the box mac and cheese. We joked on one of our podcasts that we shot because we did pantry prep with Andale. And we said, if you go into your pantry now, all of us probably have one store-bought meal in a jar, which is brownies. A box of brownie mix or cake mix, that's considered meal in a jar because you can do the cookies and um, you and me both. Yes, that's why I do it, is for convenience. Um, but macaroni and cheese in a box, meal in a jar. There's lots of stuff. So I was just trying to have the meals in a jar that I know where the ingredients come from. So it's a little bit healthier, a little bit. But yeah, that's what we're doing today is the scalloped potatoes, the cheesy scalloped potatoes from August and Farm. So I'm going to do that.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Ormsby Farm. Today on the video, we are talking with my friend Alicia from Country Mama Musing on how and why and what we use our freeze-dried food for. So if that is something that interests you, stick around and let's head to the pantry. Come on.
So y'all, let me just say, this is before I got better internet. So shooting this, even though we pre-shot it and then it went live, it was the struggle bus on actually shooting it because I looked like a robot. Let's see, dumb questions, but are they canned? Like, no, it's not a dumb question. No, it's not. It's actually an attachment, and you'll see it in the video. It's an attachment that you attach to your vacuum sealer, and it has this little top part that you put down on your lid. You don't put a ring on, you just put the lid. It suctions over and then it sucks out the air and seals it. So it's sealed so no air can get to it. So it's not canned. It's just sealed, and it is the coolest attachment. There are like the hand pump ones. I know 4Jar has one, and I probably, if I can actually, let me see, because I may be able to pull it up and show you. Let me do this. Let me remove that and try to find, because I saw that 4Jars had one, and even though I do have one for my vacuum sealer, I'm a 4Jars aholic, and I need, here it is. So I'm going to share that screen now. So basically this is what it is. Oh, of course. Okay, there it is. So if you see on it, there's like the hand pump one that doesn't hook up to your vacuum sealer, and you just pump it and you'll hear a pop. That wasn't a very good pop, but you'll hear the pop of the lid, and that's when you know it's done. And then you have also the one with the little cord, it looks like, and that is what hooks up to your vacuum sealer. And there's a part on your vacuum sealer that says accessory, and you just click it in there and you press seal and vacuum on your thing, and I'll show you on here, and it does all the work, and then when it's done, it's sealed. It's amazing. It's wonderful. I absolutely love it. And of course, if you want it on 4Jars, make sure to use Ormsby 10. And I have a link in my Linktree link because that gets you 10% off with 4Jars, and you know how amazing they are. So it's really good, nifty tool to have. And it just saves the life of certain food, like dehydrated food. Vacuum sealing it extends its shelf life. So yes, so no, it's not canned, but it actually is sealed. I wonder if you could do stroganoff in a jar. Probably, I'm sure. You know, I'm trying to find really good like meals in a jar recipe, and Alicia over at Country Mama Musing is actually really good at the meals in a jar. So I'm trying to get her together to do some more videos on meals in a jar, but I'm sure you can, especially because if you get dehydrated and freeze dried foods, that's what you use. So yeah, so I do a restaurant. Ooh, that sounds good. I cannot do wait, meals in a jar. That is so true. Everything that is like prep that you don't do yourself does have some type of soy. And I was learning that the other day of like soy powder that's in so much stuff. I'm like, for real? And that's one of the big reasons that I want to do how that's why I want to do my own kind of meals in a jar so I know what's in it. Second question, is this only for freeze-dried ingredients or dehydrated? So the video is freeze-dried ingredients, but I do mine with dehydrated as well. Like I dehydrate watermelon for like little candies and stuff, and I seal the lid to keep it fresh and no air to get to it so it stays dehydrated longer. Again, sealing the jars just extends your shelf life. I should have brought in the watermelon, but it's the same thing like these squash that I did. It's dehydrated. I don't know if you can, let me see if you can hear that. It is dehydrated squash, but it's vacuum sealed so that it's shelf stable for 10 years. And then when you pop it open, the good thing is you don't have to throw the lid away once you're done with this. Most of the time, unless it's bent opening, you can put it and vacuum seal it back so you can reuse that. So that was a good question. I do know that there are the freeze-dried mushrooms. Probably if you dehydrated your mushrooms, you could use them as well. Hey, Jay Cousin, how are you? Thanks for coming in. Oh, thank you for sharing it. You're welcome. LP, you are welcome. Huh? Right? You and me both. I want one. I've been trying to like mention Harvest Right and think, oh, they're probably like, oh, that poor little sad boy with only 2,700 subscribers. We'll just send him a free freeze dryer, even though we normally only send freeze dryers to people with 700,000 subscribers. I thought I would try, but yeah, wish they would, because that is the easiest way to get you some good meal in a jar is be able to freeze dry your own food, because the freeze dried food is expensive. But you got to think about how much is in a number 10 can, but still it's expensive. Hey, how you doing? Thanks for coming in. Let's hope so. We talk about it on the podcast all the time. They're like, all right, if y'all are feeling super generous, all three of us would love one. We appreciate you. So, okay, let me get back to this so we can see Alicia teaching me how to do it. Again, my internet was awful when we were shooting this video. So if I look like a robot, just point and laugh, okay? Because that's what I'm going to do.
I'm coming home.
And y'all, we are back and we're in my pantry.
Y'all,
And
look at the robot.
The person who
Hello.
needs no introduction. She is friend of all friends. We call her friend, a dear friend to me. Friend, let's welcome to the stage, to the StreamYard, to the YouTube video, Alicia from Country Mama Musing. Hi, friend.
Hello, friend. Thank you for bringing me into your pantry. And yes,
so
you're one of my
to have
very
you
special friends.
I'm so excited to have you in the pantry because really everything that I've learned stocking up wise has been.
Y'all, when I tell you struggle for real, it was struggle for real, because I could not hear her on the same time that she was hearing me. So I was just kind of like talking to talk, and it was a hot mess. It was on like the verge of hot meshes. Let's see.
From you and your channel. So I was like, I really need to have her on. And
she is, friend of all friend. We call her friend.
On prepping food. Now, we always talk about the.
Alicia, I was telling them how much of a struggle bus it was. This is back when I had my terrible internet. Poor Alicia was hanging with me the whole time, but it was a hot mess shooting this video. But it is the thing is why I wanted to bring it up on the live is because it's such an informative video. Alicia gives so much amazing information in this jam-packed, it's a little bit longer of a video, but it's so much information that you need to hear. So I'm going to shut up now so I can actually listen to the video. And Robot Casey.
Canning food and the dehydrating and freezing and so on and so forth. But we've also talked about freeze-dried food from different companies such as is it Hoosier Hill and August Farms
Those are a couple, yes, that we like to frequent. Yes.
So basically, what I want to talk about today with you on here is when you get these big giant hunka cans in the mail, they are sealed. And I'm going to open this one because I haven't opened it yet. They are sealed. And it does state that it has a 30-year shelf life. But what happens when you want to open it and try it? I mean, is there a shelf life after that, friend? I mean, once you open it, what's the shelf life then?
Well, sure. I mean, it's an important thing to note. I like to really encourage everybody, though, if you're going to invest in your pantry and you are going to get the freeze-dried foods from companies such as this one that do have the 30-year shelf life, keep them up there for your 30-year shelf life if you can. If you can find other ways to supplement your pantry, save these for emergencies if you can. Having said that, I break my own rule. And there have been times, because, you know, when we first bought these, we had to see what they were like because we had to know if we were justified in buying more. So we have ordered quite a surplus of different freeze-dried foods from this company as well as Hoosier Farms. And we open them and then we try them and see if we like them. And then we find different ways to put them up. It's very rare that I keep them in this container. What I like to do with this container once I open it and once I redistribute everything, I like to use these containers to save my seeds. I'll take the package off, I'll mark the lid that I've got seeds, and I'll put all of my seeds in here and put them away. Because
Oh my gosh, sorry, it was a terrible freeze frame. But I wanted to say that Alicia makes a good point in this part, and Alicia, don't kill me on that freeze frame. But I like to buy the number 10 cans and distribute them into quart jars and then vacuum seal it. I especially do this with my milk powder because I love the milk powder. You can use the milk powder for so many different things, like making cheese, making milk, of course, adding it to everything. I knew she was going to come with me for it. And vacuum sealing it so you still have a good shelf life. I wanted to pull the expenses doesn't end the freeze dryer itself back. So I'm telling you, it's expensive. It is expensive. And that is why I kind of like what I'm doing now with the meals in a jar and purchasing the already freeze-dried ones and just doing it that way. But I mean, if they were going to send me one, I wouldn't turn it away. Yeah. True. But yeah, let me unpause this so it's not an awful freeze frame.
no, you don't want to get rid of these number 10 cans.
No, you don't.
Everything is useful. What do you have in yours?
I was about to say, you know, friend, I listen to you. Well, right now in this one.
Yes,
really
you are,
just,
friend.
like, sprinkles and like cupcake decorating stuff.
Yeah, don't throw the stuff away. It's
Leave
so
it
good.
to
You
the
know, and
fat
before
boy
we
to
get
put the
too far off
cupcake
topic, because you know
sprinkles
I always do.
in the number
I
10
also
can.
save these as well as any pasta sauce cans, you know, not the ones that are your normal 15-ounce size, but like the 28-ounce size. I make sure I have 2 or 3 of those always on hand because these make great rocket stoves. You can actually cut open a circle here and slide that other can in. And you put your tinder in right here and you put a little grate from a stove on top and it will create a really great rocket stove.
Such
So
a great idea. I
for
told
that
y'all
as well.
this is informational packed.
Friend, do I smell a video from you coming on that?
Sure. Yeah, it's been one I've been meaning to do. My issue is I have not been able to find a grate to go on the top, you know, like a stove.
That's the truth.
the stove panel on top. But my sister says
Yes.
there's one in her barn, but I haven't braved going in there to find one yet. But you could always take like a round barbecue crate and set it on top and then set your pan on top. But it really is a great thing. I plan on doing a video for that. But rocket stoves are a really great asset to have on your farm or on your homestead in case you lose power and you need to have alternative ways of cooking, because what's really great is they use very minimal amounts of kindling. You can get a rip roaring fire. I've seen some people even do their canning of jams and jellies on a rocket stove made out of bricks where they didn't have to use any propane and they used very little kindling. So I saved them for those as well. Hang on to these things. The important thing to note, though, is if you're going to save these cans and store things in them with this plastic lid, just remember rodents can chew through this lid. So if you're going to keep food in it afterwards for whatever reason, or even your seeds can be susceptible to rodents. So just be mindful of that. But one thing that I do is when I open up these these cans and say I want to do something with them, I then get, for me personally, I like to get the half-gallon mason jars, because one of these jars,
Off the wall
this company, I can
prepper.
fill up 2 or 3 of these easily, and then I just vacuum seal it. So as you can see, I don't have a ring on this. I can hold it by the lid. It's vacuum sealed. There's no air in here. There's no moisture in here. Nothing's going to happen to this sweet corn that I've had in here for probably 2 or 3 years now.
Oh, wow.
So that's what I do. So there's my corn. And then I also have one that I put in up quite a while ago with celery in it.
Well, you know I'm prepared, friend, because I pulled down.
See, I told you, oh, that's a better freeze frame. Yeah, you're seeing double. Shock. When she just talked about, that was what we were talking about sealing your lids on your jars. So it gives it a longer shelf life. It still stays shake. It's still shakeable in here. It's still dehydrated. It's still good, but you have it sealed for an extension of a shelf life. So I just wanted to point that out. We were talking about that at the beginning, and you see where I learned it from friend herself. Yes. I'm leaving this comment in here for everyone because that is a good comment on when you're making or trying to make a rocket stove with these number 10 cans and the smaller spaghetti sauce cans. An old gas stove burner, great, works well for the hobo stove. I actually may have to use that. I may have to steal that idea. Just dropping it on real quick. Need to make lemonade. I'm eating. Oh my God. Thank you so much. You have a good night too. Thanks for coming in. Tell Christina, hey. All right, here we go.
Down off of one of your fabulous videos that I will leave the link in the description box for the funeral potatoes that you made. I went and I accidentally pressed order multiple times on Amazon.
Say it as it's slow.
And got the vacuum sealer can thing.
Yes.
Which I haven't quite learned how to use yet. And it comes with...
Super simple. Super simple.
It comes with a regular mouth and the wide mouth.
Right. And all you want to do with those, real quick, I'll tell you, all you want to do is put your product in your jar. Make sure that your rim is nice and wiped, because these things that are freeze dried, they'll have a powder consistency sometimes. You don't want that powder on that rim. You put your lid on and you slide that apparatus right over the top of your jar, and it's hooked up to your food saver, and you just press the button to remove the air. You don't have to press the seal button, just the button that removes the air, and it will suck all of the air out of here and seal this lid, and then you just pop that right back off and you're good to go. If you find that you're having issues, usually with the regular size lids, sometimes you have some problems, put 2 lids on. Put your thing on top, seal it, and the top lid, of course, will come off, but it kind of helps create that pressure that it's needed to hold it down and get that seal to work.
But I will say, if you use your 4 jars, even the regular mouth, always vacuum seals. And I did find some, just because I said before, the 4-jar lids are expensive, and I like to use that for canning. I like to use it, especially my pressure canning. I found some knockoff lids. You see they have no label on it on Amazon. They're in the Amazon shop. You always can scan the QR code up in the corner. And they were super cheap. And I use these when I vacuum seal, and they work like a gem. They are amazing. They're a lot cheaper to use for stuff like this. And I have reused these knockoff lids for the vacuum sealing 4 times before to reseal, and they've worked. Usually on that 5th time, they don't really seal as well, but that's because I've been opening them down and opening down. Papa Jim in the house. Okay, here we go.
So there's little
And
tips.
y'all
It's
stay
very
tuned.
simple.
Stay tuned to the very end of this video because it's going to be a longer video, because I am going to try Alicia's recommendation, and we are going to seal something right here on the video at the end. So you have to watch all the way through.
Oh,
and we're going to be doing it with 4 jar lids. So I'm excited.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
I'm excited. So let's talk first about, you've talked now that you've done your sweet corn and that you like to put them in the 1/2 gallon jars and vacuum seal them. But you also do meals in a jar, which I love. I think it's amazing.
was, because I remember I couldn't hear you at all
about
most
that.
of the time.
Absolutely. You know, I know that you and I discussed a little bit before we came on camera. We were going to kind of discuss dehydrating versus freeze drying and why this is worth it to get some of these freeze dried foods. I don't have a freeze dryer, maybe someday, but I do have a really good dehydrator. And
See, come on, Harvest Right. Send me and Alicia a freeze dryer.
And it worked well. But then you start noticing, oh my gosh, there's such a difference between the dehydrated and the freeze dried. And let me give you an example. These are some peas that I dehydrated in my very expensive, very, very nice dehydrator that Papa Jim got for me. These are now 2.5 years old. And if I hold them up here close, you can see that they dehydrated nicely. There's no moisture in there. These are good to go. I can use these, and I have used these in some of my meals. I love making an Alfredo sauce with bow tie pasta with these little peas.
Ooh, yum.
So good. Yum, yum, yum. That's one of the meals in the jars that I like to make. But if you look at them, peas have a little skin shell on them, and those tend to kind of crinkle up and harden. Let me show you how the freeze-dried peas look in my meals in a jar. Look at those perfectly little round, beautifully green colored little peas in there.
Yeah.
There's something about the freeze drying that it doesn't cause the skin of the vegetable to kind of harden. And that happens when you dehydrate. So there are a lot of wonderful foods you can dehydrate. And if that's the resource you have, then yes, I still recommend that you dehydrate those peas. They just take a little longer to rehydrate, and sometimes you might get a little bit of toughness in that skin. Same with corn or bell peppers, anything like that. So for me, after doing this for a few years now, we've determined that it's worth the little bit more to get an entire number 10 can of corn. This would be several bags of corn to dehydrate, where I've got it right here. It's been freeze dried, and I really like it in my meals so much better. I'm not knocking the dehydrating, but if you can spend, you know, what is it, $10, $15 on this corn, saves you the electricity that you're going to use for your dehydrator. And this has that shelf life. You can just stick it away. But
Other thing with the Augustin Farm freeze-dried foods, if you click that QR code up there in our Amazon storefront, we have all of the food and the equipment that me and Alicia are talking about in this video. Definitely go and get you some. It doesn't cost you any more money. It just shows Amazon you came from me, that you heart Casey and all my craziness. But I'd love to do, just like Alicia said, I love to just go ahead and purchase the freeze-dried number 10 cans, sometimes the buckets, because really, if you think about it, with your time and all of the, as Alicia said, it's a lot of corn that you would have to purchase, shuck, dehydrate to get to that number 10 can. And really, a lot of the veggies are, like she said, $15 to $17. Same thing for the milk powder, all of that kind of stuff. Now, the meats get a little bit more expensive, but it's totally worth it, really, in the long run.
you're right. I do like to open them sometimes, and I do like to make my meals in a jar. So the one that I was showing you here that I showed you the peas, This is beef stew. I made this 2 years ago. Put it in here, and I've got potatoes. I have TVP beef, which is a texturized vegetable protein, so it's a vegetarian option. So I've got peas, I have carrots, I have peppers, I have corn, I have onions, I have all my spices. Yum, yum, yum. So I make these. I will set up an assembly line, and I will have all of my number 10 cans open for what's going to go into my dish.
It's so funny, y'all. I totally set up an assembly line
and
now.
I just go down the line and I add them. So every jar that I have has the same thing in it in the same order. Gosh, they're beautiful. Isn't that pretty?
They are gorgeous. They are so pretty, like very appealing to the eye.
And it tastes wonderful too. So all of those freeze-dried foods, they have their nutrient value still in them, and they're put away. And I do what we were discussing earlier with the vacuum sealer. These are vacuum sealed. I took the ring off. I should have taken the ring off a long time ago, but you know, it's one of those things. So I don't get a false seal. But I mean, I would need an actual jar key to open this up.
And he's speaking from experience, y'all. Papa Jim gets to taste these beautiful meals in a jar up there.
But I write the instructions, and I apologize to 4-Jar.
And I have tasted hers because I did her recipe, and they're amazing.
Before we knew about 4-Jar. I do
Don't
my
they look
sealing on
great?
it, and I write my instructions on it. So if there's a time where I'm incapacitated or sick and my family needs an off-grid meal, I've got it all right here. Instead of all of the number 10 cans and nobody knows what to do with it, it's a meal right here. My instructions are in here. It's beef stew, and you have to add 6 cups of H2O.
Hey,
let it sit in that hot H2O for a little while, and then cook it down, and you have a beautiful beef stew. And I've made this. I love it.
We're rewatching an older
another
video
one that I have that we really enjoy.
Alicia.
Again, let me take the lid off. Not the lid, the ring. This one I made in 2020 as well. This is chicken noodle pot pie. And this has, again, all of the beautiful vegetables. I have a cream base here.
And Dale, so in this video, we're talking about what we talked in our podcast, which comes out soon, y'all. If y'all are looking forward to that, we had Dale on, and it is the vacuum sealing of the lids. We had talked about vacuum sealing cookies and chips and kids snacks in these. I do the dehydrated stuff and the meals in a jar. So it is the coolest thing to have. And the attachment, again, so excited because 4 Jars actually has the attachment now. It's $19 on their website. So worth it. They have the hand pump one, and they have the one that hooks up to your vacuum sealer. So just an essential tool to have as a homesteader.
Here at the bottom, all of my seasonings, my TVP chicken. So that is a vegan chicken option down here. I've got peas, corns, carrots, onions, and then I've got these lovely little noodles that are in here. And I just pop this open, add 6 cups of water, cook it up, and we've got chicken pot pie for dinner. Make up a side of biscuits with it. It's delicious. So I just love making all of these little meals in a jar. And I've got one more that I pulled out of the pantry. Again, take the ring off. This is taco rice soup.
I know, I just noticed that.
Ooh, that sounds good too.
I was coughing, but yeah, it's so good. I've done her
rice, onions,
pot pie
bell peppers. Recipe. I have from this company some dehydrated green onions, the scallion green onions, and some TVP taco meat that's in here with all of my seasonings.
And I've gotten the taco meat. I dump it out into
a pot, fill this
it's
up
the
2
faux
times
meat.
with water,
It's
cook it up,
delish.
and it's good to go. Now, here at the very, very top is something that I've also picked up from this company, is the freeze-dried shredded cheddar cheese. Now, take it from this country mama who made a huge mistake when I got my dehydrator. Do not try to dehydrate cheese. It doesn't work. It is a mess. It is an absolute mess. It needs to be freeze-dried. So I actually separate my cheese. It's right here in a little baggie. And so I
yes, I'm going to put her link
my taco
in the
soup,
chat.
and then I can rehydrate the cheese with just like a tablespoon or 2 of water. It puffs that cheese right back up, just like I took it out of the fridge, and I can sprinkle it on top of my tacos, and we're good to go.
Now,
So
you said you said you separated the cheese. Do you separate it after you open it, or do you put it in a baggie before you vacuum seal it in the jar?
It's in a baggie in here. Yeah, I'm not sure if you want to. There's a
How
baggie here
smart.
of cheese. So that way, when I open this, I just take the cheese out in its baggie, cook up my taco soup.
There we go. I've put her
my
link
cheese into a little
in
bowl
the
with some
chat.
warm water and
She is
rehydrate
amazing.
it.
I'm not just saying
And
that
by the
because
time
she's
my
one of my
taco
dearest
soup is
friends,
all
but she is
cooked up,
amazing.
my cheese is ready to sprinkle on top. It's absorbed all that water and it's delicious.
Now, speaking of the veggie meat, because I am not a vegetarian, but I did
I am
order.
not, still not.
Let me find it through all of my tubs. I did order this. It's the beef flavored, like ground beef substitute. And I have to say, as a Metasaurus Rex, I was very impressed. Just like it. Funny story is when Monica and the kids came to visit, Monica's like, no, my kids are like meat snobs. They won't want to eat it. She said, you'd have to like sneak it in there. And I did. And all 7 had no clue.
They know now though, right?
Well, I will say, spoiler alert, after I talked to Monica, the kids did notice the faux meat. But that's just because Bland's Promised Land Ranch has some of the most delicious ground beef and meat. So they did notice it after I was talking to Monica about it. So they did notice. So I did not trick the Blands, somewhat, but not all the way. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I told them. Yeah, they're not going to hear it for the first time on our video.
Surprise!
But this is so good, y'all. And
thank you for coming in. Have a great night. See you next week.
This right here, I think is like, I think I paid like $20, maybe $21. I'll leave it on the screen exactly what I paid for it. To where the actual ground beef, the real meat, is $60, $70, $80 for the tin can.
Exactly.
Still is.
And,
the price is
let's
ridiculous.
Look at whether, let's say for some reason you're down grid. All of a sudden you lose electricity for a week. What's going to happen to all that ground beef you have in your refrigerator? Unless you've canned it and you have it in your pantry in a mason jar, that beef is now compromised, where what you have in your can there is going to be good on the shelf for years and years and years. And like I said, I put it into my meals in a jar. This is only like a half a cup of the dried meat. Once it reconstitutes.
And just FYI, Patricia, if you did not know, Alicia is actually on a podcast with myself and Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch, and we talk all things homesteading, gardening, cooking, canning, all of that kind of stuff. And we have some great episodes, so you can learn from Alicia on the podcast too. It's in that QR code in the corner. Just FYI. Oops. Me doing stuff I'm not supposed to. There we go.
It's 4 times the size it is here in volume.
Right.
And my family thought I was pretty nuts when I first started doing this. I purchased, I believe, a 60-pound box of the beef, a 60-pound box of the chicken. I think I got a 30-pound box of the ground beef. And I believe I have 20 pounds of ham, little ham bits that you saw in my hero potatoes. And so all of that's in my pantry. So my initial investment of just a few $100s that's safe and secure in my pantry and can make meals like this, I can't buy that now at the store because of the price of meat right now.
Right.
And so now,
and it's still ridiculous.
Wow, that was really kind of smart when you did that. And it's like, y'all don't make fun of me now because Mama kind of knows what she's talking about. And I know there are people who say it's either real meat or nothing. And that's fine, but it's nice to have something on the shelf that is an alternative that will give you sustenance, nutrients, put food in your belly if you need to do something. We were talking earlier about that rocket stove. I can go out right now, put together a rocket stove if I need to, and start a fire with kindling, get my cast iron skillet out there. I've got a pump that will pump up some water for me if I don't have water because I don't have electricity. And I can take one of these and cook it on that cast iron skillet. And if I go a week without power, water, anything, I can feed my family here. And a lot of it started from working with these cans and building these meals and putting them together.
And it's so important that you put it out there like that, Alicia, because we always get, especially since we are very out front social media wise, we're on a podcast together, we're very outspoken influencers, that we always get those fear that we're fear mongers, that we're doing this, that we're doing this. No, we just want to teach y'all how to prepare in case something was to happen. And that is what we hope you get from our podcast, from the videos like these. This is us talking about why we buy the freeze-dried foods, how we use it, and how important it is to have it on your shelves.
Exactly. And I just want to say my son has always had, my son is a former soldier in the United States Army. And he always says one thing he learned is there is a fine line between preparation and paranoia. Mm-hmm. And so there's nothing wrong with being prepared as long as you don't go over that line to paranoia. But when we first moved here on this farm is when I really started putting things together, because we will have ice storms here where nobody's getting to us for 8 days. We can be without power, without seeing another human being for 8 days. And I have to be prepared. I have to make sure that I don't allow myself to become paranoid in preparing. So it's not just because of current times and the things that we're going through as a nation. There are just times that you just need to be prepared, and don't be blind to what your family needs. Start putting a few things away. Start getting an extra case of green beans or whatever, potted meat, and slide it under your bed. You don't have.
I just want to say, because there's so much information that we're putting out there. Y'all see me down here in the corner. I truly love to rewatch these videos, even though I talk to Alicia all the time, but just sitting here enamored by how much knowledge she has. And she said it perfectly. There is a fine line between preparation and paranoia. And if anybody that is tuning in is listening, this is the thing to listen to. Just because we are helping you and guiding you and being prepared does not mean we want you to get to the paranoia stage. So just saying, this was a crazy freeze frame again. Sorry, friend. Back to the video.
You have to have a big pantry. You don't have to have a lot of space. You can start putting things in little areas. And when I first started doing this and putting this together when we moved here on the farm, I know recently Papa Jim, my husband, said, do we really need 14 jars of peanut butter? No, I don't need 14 jars of peanut butter, but I have grandchildren. And if we happen to find ourselves in a situation where those grandchildren are hungry, I've got plenty of peanut butter where I can bake my bread in my solar oven and slap them together, a little peanut butter and berry sandwich if I have to. And they're eating. The same with, I went the other day to the store and I bought, I think, 2 cases of Vienna sausages. And a lot of people are going to go, ugh, Vienna sausages. But you know what? If you're starving, if you're hungry,
right,
it's a good source of protein and you have it. And even though I'm a vegetarian, if it came right down to it and we go through everything in my stores that I have in my pantry and it comes down to me eating Vienna sausage, I'll eat the Vienna sausage. But I can't do that if I haven't prepared myself and purchased them and put them in my pantry.
And that's the same thing with the meat substitute. People will say, oh, the vegan option. If you're hungry, you'll eat it. And listen, I'm a fat kid. I like my meats, but
do I look like I'm starving as a vegetarian? No.
You look fabulous, by the way. But I did want to say, friend, to let everybody know that's watching, Round the Hay Bale, we do have affiliate codes for the Augustin Farms down below in the description box, always on the Round the Hay Bale QR code app. So make sure that if you want to get Augustin Farm products to stock your pantry, it costs you no extra. It just helps out our podcast to grow and helps us so that we're able to bring great, fabulous content to you multiple seasons. So we would appreciate it if you used our code below. Go grab some Augustin Farm stuff. Get stocked up. Why? Because in a second, I'm going to twitch my nose and we will transform to where I am going to vacuum seal. I don't know how I'm twitching my nose with that internet, y'all.
Easy it is.
I'm excited. So don't go anywhere because I'm going to.
And we're back. Okay. See, I can't even wiggle my nose. So what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to make a cute little kind of macaroni and cheese. We're going to seal it up. We're going to do Alicia's way. We're going to do it with some 4-jar lids because y'all know they are a gracious sponsor of Around the Hay Bale. They're wonderful. They're fabulous. And spoiler alert, they may have some jars coming out in October. They may be making their own jars. Isn't that wonderful? So what I'm going to do is off camera, Alicia told me, make sure that your powder is on the bottom. Now I'm going to leave the recipe for this literally in the description box. I'm just going to kind of run through it. But
Which
I am
is the
using
craziness.
the cheese powder from August Farms, putting that just straight in there. Alicia has a fabulous cream base sauce that she has in her funeral potato videos that has the milk powder, sour cream powder, there's other stuff, right, friend?
Oh, yeah. And it's so good when you make macaroni and cheese with it. You add a little bit of spices to it. You add some, a little bit of some dehydrated onion in there. Delicious. And macaroni and cheese is just not the same once you make your own like this.
Look at those
And
colors so far. So
true, y'all.
So
it is
pretty
so
how
that cream
it
base
looks
just
so
gives
cool. And
it
I
the
think just
bam
because I
that it
want to be
needs.
cuckoo and
Hello,
crazy,
hello,
I may throw
hello.
some green
Thanks for
seasoning
coming
in there
in.
just to put a little
Oh,
shimmy.
yeah. Yeah, throw some pepper in there, throw some oregano in there. Look at how pretty that layer is with the spices while he's getting that onion powder, pepper, some oregano, some parsley. Anything that you can add that adds a little bit of color will really, really liven up. Woo! He's a Southern cook. He's just gonna dump and go.
Dump and go.
Sure
Dump and
is.
go, baby.
Show live.
Dump and go. And then we're basically now just going to throw the pasta right on top of it.
When I tell you it is literally that easy to make it. And in this video, I will leave the link for this video in the description box or in the chat box. It has the recipe for the macaroni and cheese. Now you are going to have to go over to Alicia's channel, A Country Mama Musing, and watch her funeral potato video because that's where she has the recipe for that. Amen. Amen. See, someone that understands me, someone who understands me. Huh? Some loud macaroni.
You know, one thing that Casey and I were discussing earlier, one of the reasons you want to put your powder and your spices at the bottom, then put your pasta in or your freeze-dried vegetables, whatever you're going to do, because once you get all of your ingredients in, you're going to wipe the rim of your jar, place your lid on, and then you're going to go ahead and vacuum seal it. But you don't want these powders up here close to the top because you don't want it to compromise the seal by getting some powder sucked out as it's removing all of that air. So there he is wiping the rim. You don't have to do it with a wet towel. You just kind of want to make sure that there's no powder or any debris on there before you seal it. That beautiful lid. Now you don't need the ring, just the lid.
Just the lid.
Just the lid. And are you doing wide mouth or regular mouth?
Wide mouth.
Okay.
So I'm going to hook it up.
Because I'm a wide mouth. That's why I used that one.
I may have to tilt y'all down so y'all can see it a little bit better. I don't even know if you can y'all see back there, friend? Can you see it? Probably not, right?
I can see what you're doing with the attachment. I can see the attachment.
So it's just my food saver. I've got it hooked up to the accessory port. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to suction right over the top of it.
Now, Casey, just so you know where it says Casey Ormsby Farms, there you go. Hold it up so people can see because your name kind of blocks a little bit of the view. Okay, you've got it down on there. You should be good as long as it's seated well.
And I'm going to turn my little switch into the operating mode.
Before you do that, I want you to listen because as you hear it suck the air out, you'll hear a change. It'll go, and once it hits that higher pitch, you know you're done.
So now I just press vacuum and seal?
Yep, just vacuum. Now, that should have been long enough. You can go a little longer if you want to, but that should have been long enough.
And all my lights are off now, which means I can do this.
So now carefully just peel that off. Go straight up. Don't rock it. Just pull straight up.
And it's sealed.
There you go.
Because I want to be fully honest with everybody that watches us, because you watch us because you want to know how to do something. Now, this is the coil that I used at first. This was the one that came with the two attachments.
Hello, everybody. I'm here all by myself.
Bye, Casey. Bye.
But I do believe he's having some technical difficulties and riding that struggle bus there in the middle of Georgia. He'll be back.
You're going to fill up this whole jar with the milk powder.
First, don't throw it away out of the box.
I don't know how to do something. Now, this is the coil that I used at first. This was the one that came with the two attachments.
Bye again.
I'm here all by myself. I don't know where our host went, but
so basically, y'all, because that is basically how it's done, as Alicia said. I wanted to say, with full disclosure, and I said this at the end of the video once I finally came back, but the cord that came with the two attachments, I used at first and it did not work. And then I used the one that came with the vacuum sealer and that worked. So make sure that you test it out, because a lot of the time the off name brand stuff, cords, attachments aren't going to work as well. So wanted to be honest, because we did have to do it a couple times to figure out what was going on. Yes, the one that came with my attachments didn't work at all, ever. I tried it multiple times, it didn't work. So I had to use the one with the vacuum sealer. But now, I was saying at the very beginning that 4 Jars has the attachment and stuff now, and it's a double thing. It's the hand pump one and the cord attachments, and they have it on their website. I saw that was really cool. And y'all know I love 4 Jars, absolutely love 4 Jars. So let me see. I'm trying to find. And at the very end of this video, one thing that I did was I canned up some of my milk powder. I canned the milk powder in 2 cups because that's how I use it. And it's so good to have it. And it was all powder. Now, you definitely want to be a lot more careful when you are sealing ones that are just powder. Like this is what I did tonight. This is the cheese dip powder that I was talking about that I posted on my Instagram. Be very careful. Make sure that your rim's wiped, like Alicia said in the video, and then it would seal. Same thing with I have my powdered creamy potato soup. So careful, wipe the rim. But yes, so let's see, when they go back there a few years. It was. I definitely want to actually hit up 4 Jars and see if they'll let me test out their vacuum sealer can thing to see how it is. Because y'all know I love doing this. Now that Alicia taught me it, I literally seal up everything. And I'm not going to give too much away because we do have a podcast coming out. And there's our other podcast host. Hey, Monica. We have one coming out with Ann Dale where we talk about sealing kids' snacks. It was actually Monica who taught us all about that, but I'm not going to go into that because I want y'all to go and listen to the podcast. But yeah, before I sign off, because we're actually having a podcast meeting tonight, so that's why I'm going after this, all dressed up, as you can tell, is I wanted to go back over kind of what we talked about, and that was the sealing the meals in a jar and stuff. So with right here, I dehydrated a lot of the yellow squash this year. I have 5 quarts of the yellow squash. And what I'm going to do is pretty much like the funeral potatoes, I'm going to add in the squash instead of the potatoes. And it's going to be like a cheesy squash casserole. I have tried it. It is delicious. It's Alicia's same recipe for the funeral potatoes, but I substitute the dehydrated squash for the potatoes, and they're still nice and crunchy. So that's one of them that I like to do. This is one that is so easy, and it is creamy potato soup in a jar. This right here, let me see if I can get to where the color is. Okay, there it is. So the bottom like tannish color is my dehydrated mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes, spread it on your dehydrator. I do 18, 20 hours. Sometimes it can be 24, depending on how humid it is. Make sure it's like a crunchy kind of feel like paper board kind of thing. And then I put it in a food processor to blend it up to the powder. And then it's the cheese powder, and then it's a milk cream based powder that Alicia was talking about in the video, and then seasoning. Again, you can get that freeze-dried bacon to put on here and a little bag of the freeze-dried cheese, and it'd be delicious. I just will add cheese at the end because I'm actually going to try to make cheese from the milk powder. So you'll want to make sure you're subscribing. Another thing that I make with it, we kind of learned on here, is macaroni and cheese in a jar. This is super, it's convenient. Have you reconstituted, which one? The soup or just the mashed potatoes? Shut your face. Shut your face. Was it simple? Was it delicious? Was it everything I could ever imagine? Oh, the potato soup. Yes, I have reconstituted before. It is absolutely delicious. Basically, you pour this with 2 of these hot water, sometimes 2.5, depending on how thick you want your soup. It's so delicious. It's so easy. And again, you dump, add the 2 boiling water, sometimes 2.5, bring it back up to a boil in a soup pot like you would in your normal soup, and then serve it up. And it's so good. It's so delicious. Same thing with the mashed potatoes. My dehydrated mashed potatoes, the blend, it's same thing like you get in the store. So you reconstitute it the same type of way, kind of like even amounts, and stir as you're pouring the hot water in there to get that thickness of mashed potatoes from this. But yes, I have. Yes, it was so good. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I put Monica's comment on there. Yes, it was so easy. I'm so excited because y'all know I don't have it in here, but I get it from the Hispanic aisle at the grocery store. But I've actually found it on Amazon cheaper. Again, QR code to the Nido milk powder, and I just love it. It is so good. Cheese from milk powder. Who would have thunked it? Who would have thunked it, for real? But let me tell you, because I know that me and Monica, we always are talking about Mexican food. I did this tonight, and we tested it out and tried it. This is cheese dip in a jar. So basically, it's one of these and one of these of hot boiling water, and I do a half a jar of my homemade canned Rotel, and you mix it all up. It is some delicious cheese dip. It is so good. And it has the milk powder in it. It's milk powder, butter powder. The recipe will come out when I do my weekly Everything Counts challenge. It was so good. Yeah, I had to do it too. I always try to like give myself a little bit of like 4 or 5 days to learn before I type anything in or put it out there, because that's the first thing people ask is how you rehydrate. And I'm like, I don't know, but I do. I've learned. Try the whole milk. See, I haven't gotten the skim milk. I always get the whole milk. I usually get the whole milk, the Nido whole milk. And it's delicious. I've reconstituted it for cereal, and that's the one reason that I would want milk on hand is, sometimes you're in the mood for cereal or oatmeal or something like that. and you easily the night before can reconstitute some of that milk powder, turn it into milk. I have these lids that go on my wide mouth and regular mouth that has a spout. So you get in there, give it a good shake. It says on the number 10 can how to make milk from the powder, like what percentages of everything to put in there. Shake it, put it in the refrigerator overnight, and it's great whole milk for the next morning. So I absolutely love it. But y'all, thank you for coming into my live. I appreciate it. Make sure that you go check out that video of me and Alicia. It is jam-packed. If you're visiting this after it's up and live, when I visited, yes, it was. It was complete. It was like a meal in a jar one. It was the funeral potatoes with the faux beef in it. It was so delicious. But y'all, thanks for coming in. Me and Monica and Alicia actually have to jump into a meeting now, and I'm just on here blah blah blahing. So I'm going to end my blah blah blahing and thank everybody again for coming in. Make sure you're subscribing. Thank you. You too. Have a great night, and I will see y'all next Tuesday. Tuesday at 9 a.m. Central for our Hey Y'all Hey morning show, and then again at night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Yes, I am that psycho that I am on live 2 to 3 times in a Tuesday. Yes, thank you. Y'all hit the thumbs up. Leave a comment, share, rewatch it. Love y'all. See y'all next Tuesday. Peace. Peace, y'all. Be blessed.